Okay, so here we are ready to start the actual playthrough of Conquest of Pangeae, and I'm going to start over with the yellow, work counterclockwise, as I always like to do for whatever reason, and begin with the setup period. We'll just see how this works, maybe for a couple of characters to begin with. So the first one is a blue. He gets to choose blue. I like taking things kind of where the connection of the continents are, because that's going to make it easier for me to maybe get that 3 in a row, which is an important factor. And now I reach into my secret bag and pull out a volcano. Now this is the kind of thing I didn't explain well during the explanation terribly, but it's a 0-point thing. That territory is uninhabitable. You can't walk through it. You can't do anything. It's just a dead zone right in the middle of a connection area. That's kind of a bone to the whole world, or at least this blue area. Let's see what blue pulls up. Well, they get to pick anywhere they want. And, you know, there's a lot of interesting anywhere you want type positions. Given what's happened there, they're going to grab this space here. And it's kind of hard for me to pull these out, but they get a plains, and that means that I look through here and I find them a plains dominance card. Essentially, that's 5 victory points that they have right now. Of course, that can be traded away and sold or lost. I'll work my way through and pull a few more. Come back after we see how things are developing. Well, not a lot happened. Tan picked this and places here, getting a forest. Then red picked one of these, which just says you redraw, basically, on this stage of the game. Now, they can't play underneath, by my understanding of the rules. They have to try to fill the continent. And we see Tan has a forest dominance card. And red picks up a hills card. It's kind of a weird balance between, you know, whether you want... So obviously getting starting positions that are high valued, like the plains or the 6-point lakes, is good. It's good to have those for free. But it's kind of iffy later on whether you want to pay the high price for the higher victory point areas to fight over, or if you want to grab cheaper, easier ones. And we'll see how that develops as we go. At this point, though, it's great to pick the big ones, I think. We've worked our way around. Orange got an extra turn. You got this any space and chose to take this one, which connects them up. Seeing people trying to make connections, but others aren't really able to. They don't have the option. You know, when you place your first piece here and then you get a blue piece, well, you can't do anything with that, right? So they are trying to make that connectivity, though, because remember, that gives you the bonus of a leader. The sooner you can get 3 of your dominated areas together, you get that. Now, is the leader a bonus? Yeah, no matter what, it's a bonus. Whether or not you want to take the growth from it is kind of iffy. I saw in the 2-player game, I think it gave me an advantage to do so, but there was certainly a downside to it, to not having pieces later in the game to play. Working around, we see Tan just picked up their 2nd forest. Now, if this was during their turn, their ordinary play, they would be getting one of these special power cards. But because it's during the setup, they don't get that. They also managed to complete their 3. Again, if it was at their turn, at the end of their turn, they would get the leader. But as it stands, they've got it already hooked up. So on their first turn, they're going to get the leader unless somebody steals that from them. Let's take a peek where we are now. Now, at this point, we're actually before Orange's turn. And because they got screwed out of 1 turn, they're not able to show as many points as, you know, as many areas as everyone else is. They don't have as many locations in play. That's just the explanation there. One thing I wanted to mention while we look at what has evolved, these terrains are fixed. And this kind of disturbs me because over these millions and millions of years, forests and hills and mountains, they actually change. And maybe mountains less than some of the others. But over the scope of this game and certainly the creation of the multiple continents out of Pangaea, a lot of geological activities going on. So all of these are changing. Unfortunately, in the game, they're all fixed. There's also no real advantage to them other than their points for dominance and what they cost, etc. There's no feeling towards them the same way there is in, say, an American megafauna, that it's really affecting things. Some of the powers modify that, but I feel a lot less connected and more like I'm playing just an abstract placement game. My wife compared this very much to Cathedral, which my initial feeling was, no, it can't be. It isn't. Well, not just does it have plastic pieces, but really it comes down to just really that abstract play. And it doesn't feel really linked to what it's about in the way that I almost demand in a game. Well, that was fast. For the first time, Orange pulls a card. They cannot play a new territory in. So now they must expand into another not new territory. What they're going to do is they're going to expand here, because at 5 points for a pip, that's one of the most valuable places they can go to. They're getting a piece there that would cost them 5 stones, a full move to play into. So that's to an advantage for them. We're going to see more and more of that doubling up here and in Africa, and then as the other continents fill up, until every last space is filled. And blue played here, getting a sulfur, and I ripped a nice stinky one off just to celebrate that. But yeah, we're beginning to see the board fill up there. It's important to note the orange piece had to go underneath the blue piece. The blue piece still maintains dominance. There's still at least as many blue pieces as anything else. If the orange put a second one in here, though, they could end up taking dominance even during the setup phase, I believe. Okay, so orange did it again. They pulled another Africa card, and what I wanted to do was grab dominance of this, but looking over the rules, no, that's not possible. You can put it under a single piece. That's the only way you can expand in this way. So my option, except for a mountain. So I'm going to go down here and grab another 5-point area, just because they're so expensive to gain. I'd rather have that. Anyway, we're seeing the board's almost completely filled up. We have just a couple of spaces left. 1, 2, I think. And everybody's got their color lined up with the exception of blue. Blue needs this space. Let's see if they draw it. They do not. They got a purple, which means they're going to be pushing under one of these. And this would hook them up for a 3. So they'll go in there. If they can expand and get dominance there, they get a bonus. Anyway, I'll continue on and see where it ends. Well, there's our final board, and these extra dominance cards and all the little chips go back in here, and they're out of play for the rest of the game. What it needs to be brought over are these rafts. They're not available yet, but they will be. And we're going to reshuffle the time deck and start with player turns. Who went last? Red went last. And I think that, no, that can't be guaranteed that the last person of the cycle goes last, but it's been happening. So orange is going to be going first. They'll get the stones, and we'll start with their turn and see what happens. Well, it's the orange player's turn. Now, on the first turn of the game, you only have these 5 stones. And the rules are explicit about that. Otherwise, I would have thought that you'd get these powers based on what you have on the board. But you don't. You have to actually grow in order to get those. So that becomes one of the goals, because you kind of get to keep these forever unless you lose all the terrain that they go with. Alright, but it's going to be tough to get dominance in a new area. I could get dominance here maybe, straight off, just attacking. There's no defense there. Here's the problem. I can't expand there. I don't have 2 in any adjacent area. That's one reason you might want to set up one of these so that you've got 2 in one place instead of one under an opponent's piece. But from there, we're looking and we're saying, okay, well, let's grow a couple of pieces then. I'm kind of interested in that space. I've only got 5 stones. I can grow 2 pieces if I spend all 5 of those stones. They're kind of moved away for now. Since I did not migrate or invade or anything like that, all I did was grow. All I get is one power card. We can look at this to see. This is a kind of cool one. It allows you to reuse it each turn. And it's 2 points. That's going to be very helpful to him, actually. There aren't a lot of over 1 point recyclable cards. Now, the next thing that happens is, I think he gets his leader. And he can place that anywhere on the board. He's going to put it over here, figuring for expansion in Africa. Looks like blue's going to be kind of easy meat to take out. Alright, and now his one last thing is going to be he draws a time card. And we see what happens. Well, 10 million years pass. Every 25 million years we have a continent break off. Conflict. Eliminate one population marker from an area on this continent where you do not have dominance. Okay, well this is interesting. I could just eliminate and gain dominance in one of these areas. Interesting? Perhaps. Is it that powerful? Well, what it doesn't, I think, allow is for you to claim these cards, because it comes after you would claim those cards normally. All the same, that's good because he doesn't have a plains already, so he wouldn't be able to claim one. So he is going to eliminate a blue piece. Now, it's just gone. It's out of the game. That's the way I'm reading these. Blue is now down a piece because of that card. Great. And now we go on to their turn, and they're going to have 5 stones as well, and get to make similar choices. Let's see what they do. They would get to replenish their cards, etc., if they had any out. And now they can pay... Get this out of the way. There's 4 of these little cards. I only showed 2 of them, but there's 1 for each player. Now they can pay to kind of grow or expand somewhere. Well, they have a problem similar to the other. They don't have anywhere where they have 2 pieces. It would cost them 6 to gain dominance here. So basically they're looking at growing their piece somewhere where they already exist. Now they could spend 5 to up their dominant. They lost control of this plains to orange, and orange gets that. Here's the problem. Those cards are also moved at the same stage. They've got to be able to move at other times. I just did sort of an on-the-fly rule in our last game that these wouldn't go out during that. And I think it works fairly well. You have to actually do something. You can't just luck into a power. Anyway, let's go on with blue's turn. What can they do to expand themselves? Well, they could grow here, which would help defend themselves. Or up here, they could spend only 4 instead of 5. Hey, it doesn't really make a difference because they can't do anything with 1 stone, but the reason they're doing it here is so that they can expand into one of these and get their leader. Right now, they do not have a leader. And they're going to be paying their the stones over to the next player, this kind of tannish player, I guess. They don't really gain anything here, but they do get to still draw a time card. Oh, they still get a power card for growing, and they get a 2.1 user, which isn't anywhere near as interesting. They get to draw one of these, and it's an epidemic. Eliminate 1 population marker from this continent, this being the one indicated here. Well, that's this one. Migrate 1 of your population markers on this continent to any below limit adjacent area. Well, he can't do that, so he ignores that part of it. But he can hit either tan or red, both of whom are doing quite well. He thinks red is doing better. It would break up tan's connections, but he'd still rather hit red, he thinks. And that's an eliminate, so it's gone. red is going to lose a hills space, and that goes up here because nobody owns it now. And now we're at 13 million years, doing this countdown to 25. I'm going to load this one up, and we'll come back in a little bit.